Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Journeyman Football Manager with Zebu Nation. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the Journeyman series and what it is, if you missed our intro video, or if I didn't actually post the intro video, that's a definite possibility at this point in time. But anyway, if you're unfamiliar with what a Journeyman series is, this is my first ever Journeyman series, because normally I like to build a team and stick with a team and stay with one team for the entirety of a series. But in this case, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be a journeyman from the lower leagues all the way up. So I'm starting as, a very, very novice coach, very low level coach, just taking whatever jobs I can find and trying to work my way up the ranks as we go. So that's the basic premise of this save. Just try to reach the highest level as possible, trying to improve myself as a coach as much as possible. So I guess we'll start there. We'll start by looking at my profile. So as you can see, 22-year-old American-Canadian coach. My preferred formation is the 4-1-2-3 DM wide. My secondary preferred formation is apparently the same one, although it's actually not that. My preferred formation is actually the diamond formation, 4-4-2 diamond, narrow. But anyway, this is how the game has interpreted my playing style, because I've mostly played this formation with my current team, and we'll get to my current team in a moment. But as you can see, my coach is not very impressive. My reputation is very small. Media handling and everything else, sort of managing finances right now, I'm getting high marks in that, 70%. But everything else, I'm sort of 50%, around that range. Other than reputation, which is terrible, 10%. I've never seen anything that low in my life. But anyway, we're so young in our career that we haven't really established a lot. So I'm going to tell you what I want to establish. What I want to establish is, the diamond formation with a possession style and attacking possession style, maybe mix in a little bit of counterattack as well. But at these lower levels, you kind of got to do what you got to do. So we have the half diamond formation here with the 3 advanced players. So, we're working this team towards the diamond formation, but we just don't have the players, honestly. And, our best players are on the wings, but again, we'll get to that in a minute. Right now, we're still focusing on myself as a coach. And as you can see, attacking and defending, not really my forte at the moment, because what I chose to take was a youth development coach. That's my coaching style. That's another thing I want to do when I come to these teams, is I want to build up teams through youth and help them progress in their youth facilities and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not really just looking to bring in a bunch of old vets and win and leave. I'm still trying to build these teams. Even if I'm going to leave the teams, I want them to be better off than when I left them. So as you can see, I've got decent technical marks, 13 technical, working with youngsters 11, youngster knowledge 9. Everything else is pretty low. Tactical, mental, and player knowledge are my next best stats. And then everything else after that is 3 or less, which is not very good. On a scale of 20, I believe is what this scale is. So yeah, we're not looking too good. In terms of my knowledge of the world, I got pretty good knowledge in USA. I guess passing knowledge in Canada. And then my knowledge of England is growing. And we'll get to that by looking at my achievements, I think. So if you look at my achievements in 2016, January, I was offered the head coach of Worcester. So that's where I'm at right now. And I haven't done much there other than been hired as a coach. I acquired a new Continental C coaching license, and that's how you progress your coach in this game, is you get coaching licenses, and that adds a few ability points on to your player or your coach. And then the only other thing is I've appointed Joe Muscat as vice captain. Not a terrific landmark, but it's my first captaincy, appointing, and vice captaincy at that, because this team already had a captain and I didn't want to mess with the flow. So there we go. Not much else has gone on in terms of myself. I have a contract with Worcester until June 30th of next year, so approximately 1 year on my contract. Hopefully, I can get an extension at some point during the season because I don't want to go back into the coaching carousel with no job. And that's how I got this job, is basically they were one of the last jobs available. You know, every other job available passed me by. Because when you start a journeyman series with no jobs, there's a list of maybe 24 jobs available around the world in terms of head coaching. And those fill up pretty quickly, and you got to try to apply for jobs and all that kind of stuff. And Worcester was basically the last team available, one of the last anyway. And I applied all over the world. I wasn't just looking to be in England or anywhere else like that. It just, this is what happened. So, speaking of Worcester, we'll go down our checklist and take a look at this club. Finances, not great, but I've seen worse. Got $74,000 in the bank. This season, we're losing a little bit of money, but not too much money, and that's okay because we haven't started any competitions. So we're basically breaking even through the preseason, and that's okay. We don't have much of a transfer budget, $1,100. Apparently, we lost 10,000 of it somewhere. I'll have to figure that out. I don't remember buying a player, but maybe I did. Our payroll budget is pretty sizable. It's not huge for this league, but it's passable for this league. $300,000 basically, and we're using most of that. We're using $282,000. Look at the board. Our job security is pretty safe here, 54%, and you know, hopefully that'll grow over the course of the season, but you never know. Currently, our confidence, they are confident in our transfers. Confidence in club finances and squad harmony is on the rise. Matches, competitions, and all that stuff are pretty much 50% because we haven't played much of anything. Let's take a look at this club, Worcester City, 22nd in the Venerama National League currently. Basically, they just want me to avoid relegation and going back down to the lower leagues. Founded in 1902, a semi-professional club. 1-star local reputation. Finances are okay, which is better than being, you know, poor or on shaky foundations. We can take a look at their history a little bit, the club background. I think I read this in the premiere episode, but if you didn't see that, this club has a ways to go in terms of winning championships or anything like that. They haven't done much. Since 2001 is their last cup of any kind. And the last time they won a Premier Division, the Southern Premier Division, was 1979. So it's been a long time for this club to have any kind of banners or trophies. So hopefully we can fix that. At least maybe not this season, but maybe next season. Now we'll start to look at how we've been building this team. And when you're at the lower levels here, especially in England, you have to build your team with free transfers. There's just not a lot of money to go around. You saw that I only had $1,100 there. So our transfers have been a little bit interesting. Let's look at transfer history. So we've let go of 3 players. These teams came in, free transfers, and they didn't offer us any money, but they got their salaries off the books. Because honestly, we weren't going to use these players, so might as well get rid of them. We got rid of Dean Waldron, a 19-year-old with good pace, but he didn't have much potential, so we get rid of him. And, you know, he was making almost $5,000, so we'll get rid of that guy for sure. Connor Gator, he was another guy, he just didn't fit in our plans. Another guy with good pace, but no potential, 24-year-old. Got rid of him to East Thurrock. He wasn't costing us anything, but just to get him off the books. And then the same with Nathan Olakanami. He was making 7.5. Again, good pace, but no potential. So get rid of that guy as well. And then the players we brought in, I tried to mix in mostly youngsters, but players who could come in and either have an immediate impact or guys who had pretty good potential. So you saw the name earlier, Joe Muscat, who is now our assistant captain. left defender. This guy he's coming in. He's going to play right away at that fullback position. Good pace, good jumping reach, leadership. As you can see, the fact that he was vice captain might show you his leadership potential. He's got work rate, he's got tackling, so he's a pretty good fullback. Only 18 years old, 4-star potential. So hopefully this guy can reach his potential. Luke Diaby, 23 years old, another 4-star potential guy. He's got very good mental attributes, very good intangibles, as you can say. He's got 9 pros and only 2 cons against him, so he's a very, very good locker room player, but he's also got excellent physical stats, 6'3". He's got good pace and balance and jumping reach and all that stuff, so he's a pretty decent physically fit player. Going to be playing in the midfield for us. Charles Anthony Weston Hales, a 19-year-old striker. We need to replace some of that pace that we lost through those transfers. So he's a striker with 13 pace, 13 finishing. One of his abilities is that he strikes the ball very well, so hopefully this guy can score some goals for us, and at this level, that's very important. Dominic Reed is another 19-year-old, as you can see. One of the things that I told the board I wanted to do was bring in youngsters, and they agreed with that, so that's why my transfer policy has been approved by the board so much, because I told them that's what I was going to do. They agreed with me, and so I brought in a bunch of youngsters, and they're happy with me with that. Dominic Reed is another 4-star potential guy. Not quite the physical specimen of the other players, but he's got good overall skills, mental, physical, technical. So he'll be okay. Another central midfielder. Josh Williams, 18-year-old. He's a guy who's been getting better. He's been improving. I brought him in as a central defender, as a guy more with potential than actual ability. But he is getting better, so that's good. He's got to work on his jumping reach, which is improving. He's got to work on his strength and things like that. But he does have pace, which is good for that back line, especially in some of the ways that I like to play. But he's got marking and tackling that are already pretty good for an 18-year-old. So he might be in our under-18s or under-23 squad, not necessarily a starter for us, but he's still going to do well for us. Sam Baxter is another player we brought in. A goalkeeper, 21 years old. He's not responding very well. He does have 4-star potential, but you can see all of his stats are in the decline. I'm not sure why. He didn't really take well to training, so he might be our one mistake here in our signings. And then finally, Hamam Al-Hafituri is a defensive midfielder, a guy that we definitely are going to be playing a lot this year and relying on. 18-year-old Libyan with good pace, agility, acceleration, passing and tackling are decent. His work rate is very high, so that's good for a defensive midfielder. And hopefully he'll just improve throughout the year because he's going to get a lot of playing time. All right, so that's our new players we've brought in. Take a look at our tactics. And here is that half diamond formation I was talking about. So you can see on the back side here we have the classic diamond, but on the front side we do not have the finale of the diamond. We have 3 attacking players, 2 wide and 1 advanced forward. So what do I say about this formation? This is sort of formation. I've only found 2 formations in all of Football Manager. Well, I'll take that back. 3 formations in all of Football Manager that work on a regular basis. And maybe that's just my bias. Maybe that's me not sticking with other formations long enough. But there are only 3 formations, as far as I'm concerned, that work and work on a consistent basis. And those are the 4-4-2 diamond, this 4-1-4-1 DM wide, and the 4-3-3. Those are the only formations I've ever found that work consistently and that you can play game after game after game and not just have your team be completely erratic. So I've been working on 2 of those 3 formations, and I'll probably institute the 3rd formation at some point as well. But for now, I've just been focusing on these 2 formations because these are where the best players we have are at and where they play the best. So there's a few things about playing at the lower levels that I've already mentioned in terms of salary and things like that. But another thing you've got to look at are bringing players in as inexpensively as possible. And everything costs money. Scouting costs money. Travel costs money. Everything costs money. So when you're strapped for cash, a good way to take a look at players is to bring them in on trial. So what you want to do is just prior to your first preseason match, and you should start your preseason as early as possible, especially in your first couple seasons with the team. Just prior to whatever your first preseason match is, maybe a week prior, you start going out looking at all the players that you've wanted to scout, but maybe you didn't have the finances or the resources to scout these players, and you bring them in on trial for a few weeks, 2, 3, 4 weeks, however long you want to bring them in. And then you can play them in the games, and you can just watch them play, and you don't have to rely on your scouts. You can see them for yourselves, and you get a feeling of exactly what they can do, and then you can decide whether to sign them or not. Now, not every player is going to want to do that, but there are quite a few players out there who don't have jobs, or they're unhappy with their current team, and they're just looking for any opportunity. So you can bring those players in on a trial, play them in some preseason games, get a look at them, and then decide to sign them. And we did that with several of our players this time around. And as you can see, these players in green are players who are currently on trial with us, but I'm not going to sign them just for different reasons. Some of them have good potential, but they just don't have the stats that I want, or I've already signed players at their position, and I don't want to have to sign a million guys. Because normally what happens to me at these lower level teams is I start thinking about them like I would an MLS team, which is I want high numbers of players because I can loan them out, and finances and resources aren't that big of a deal at the MLS level in terms of having a number of players. But at these levels, you have to pay for everybody, and it takes a lot of money, and you're always strapped for cash at the lower levels. So I'm going to try to keep my team a little bit smaller than normal. I'm going to send a lot of these guys down to the under 23s, but there's also a lot of guys I'm going to leave on the table and I'm not going to sign. So I'm showing a little bit of restraint until maybe later in the season we start suffering some injuries or something. I'll be able to have these guys in my back pocket and say, okay, I've already tested these guys out. I know what they can do. I'll bring them in later in the season if I need them. But I don't need them coming up. This is our final preseason game. Their trial periods are all ending, so we'll have a much smaller roster next time you see a video from me. There are two other exceptions to our roster. We have two players that have come to us on loan. The first one has one of the best names ever, Shea Tilt, an 18-year-old midfield winger from West Brom has come to us, and he's a pretty darn good player. 13 pace, 14 acceleration, 12 crossing. He's got first touch. He's not the greatest guy in the world, obviously, but for our level, he's pretty good. Pretty pacey, not very big, but he's good enough. And then our other one is very good. 19-year-old goalkeeper Ethan Ross, also from West Brom. This guy is a very good goalkeeper for this level. 13 aerial reach, 13 handling, 13 reflexes, 13 acceleration, agility, pace. So he's a really good prospect. The only thing he doesn't have particularly is jumping reach, but he's got aerial reach. So, I mean, those two kind of balance each other out a little bit. But he is a 4-star goalkeeper at this level, at least according to our scouts and my recollection. So it should be a good season with him in goal. And these guys were already at the club when I got here, so I didn't have to sign them. They already had like a 2-year loan deal, I guess. So maybe we can sign these guys after their loans are up. Probably not, because they're valued pretty high, but they could be players we could break the bank for, especially Ethan Ross. I think we could make a decent salary push for him, because if we could, a good goalkeeper is worth a lot to me. The way I play, a good goalkeeper is worth a heck of a lot. So that's our team. That's our formation. The other thing you got to know about this formation is we played on the left side a lot. That's why I had to bring in Muscat. That's why I had to, make sure I had a good left fullback. Because what we do is on the left side we have an inside forward. We send Tilt on the inside forward, and then we bring our fullback down the sideline. So you're going to see that quite a bit from this formation, is us playing down the left-hand side, trying to overlap between the winger here, the inside forward, and the fullback streaking down the sideline. It's a play style that I developed, and it seems to work, so I'm going to stick with it, especially with the defensive midfielder there and these two midfielders. There's not always a lot of good things happening in the center of the field, so we have to go wide sometimes, and that really helps us play wider when the middle has been shut down. And we only have the one striker, so we need extra players downfield, so that's another reason to do it. And then when we keep the other fullback back, it allows us to have at least 3-4 people back, including the defensive midfielder, so we can still cover our bases defensively. And it's just a system that has worked pretty well. So, with that being said, it's a quick primer, but hopefully gives you some idea of what we're doing. We're going to go to our team selection here. These are our starters. This is our final preseason game. Oh, I know what we could do. We could look at actually our competitions here. We are in the Venerama National League North, and it is one of the lower levels in English football, but is not the lowest level. So hopefully we can get promoted to the next level and start the rise of Worcester up the ranks of English football. But there's a lot of teams in this league, a lot of teams I've never played before, and it'll be interesting to see the different stadiums, the different styles, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's as you can see, as I mentioned, a lot of teams in this league. 22 teams in the league. I believe that we're voted 17th, so that's not the worst. I thought we'd be lower than that, but it looks like we've got some kind of promise here. Our goal is to finish mid-table. That's sort of our aggressive goal. I think minimum we just need to avoid relegation and avoid a relegation battle. So I think if we get a good start to the season, we should be all right in the eyes of the board and the fans and everyone else. So we got the league table, and that's about it. Yeah, the top team gets promoted, and then the next 4 team goes into a promotion playoff. So you've got basically 2 chances to get promoted from this league, and then the bottom 3 get relegated to the lower divisions. So we definitely want to avoid that, and maybe not this season, but maybe next season we can make it into a playoff type situation. Hopefully. All right, so here we go. Let's start our first match. See who we're playing here. It's been a while since I played this. I played so much in the preseason just getting to this point, and then I took like a week off without playing. So I don't even remember who we're playing. We're playing Stratford. See if we can take a look at those fellas. Can we? Let's see. Let's go to continue here. Take a look. So they are going with the diamond formation. That's interesting. Kind of biting our style here. Take a look at the opposition instructions. Go home. See if we can take a look at Stratford Town. There we go. So they are in the regional premier division. So they're a division below us. We should hopefully beat them. They've got not a lot of great players. 1.5 star. They got several scrub players. So this should be a victory for us. We should be the favorites. And there should be no doubt about that. So let's apply our advice to the team. That's good. Do we have our positional set? We don't have our positional set. We're going to have to work on that. We need to look at their fullbacks, as you can see here. Ooh, Fogelbade. What is his name? Oboimi. Folagbade. I don't know. Hopefully we don't have to call that guy's name too much. So we're going to close down on him. And looks like their other fullback, Hawks, is also going forward. That name really threw me for a loop. So we're going to move on. I'm a little off kilter here because of that guy's name. I did not expect that in the English Premier Division. All right, so here we go. English Premier Division. Vanarama, National League North. I didn't expect to see non-English names, but you know what? It happens. It happens. There are people everywhere. So here we go. See a lot of these kind of fields here in this division, especially, I think we're playing away? Why would we be playing away for this game? I don't know. But there's Tilt using his inside forward, and there's our fullback Muscat coming on the outside. So you can see how that works. You can see how that little tandem works. Tilt takes the ball, runs it inside, gets it back out. And hopefully it sets up some plays. Here's Tilt looking to center it. Hutchinson with the shot. Ooh, nice save by Vernon. Goalkeeper. Not a huge crowd here, but that's to be expected. I still wonder why I'm playing away from home for this match. I don't know. We're wearing our green uniforms, which is sort of our away uniforms, I believe. Yeah, that's our regular. Oh, terrible defense. Was that an own goal? Nope. Terrell got the shot off before he could tackle him, but that was just terrible defense right up and over the central defenders. Terrell just gets a touch on it over the goalkeeper. So we're down 1-0. This is not good. Not good at all. What are our instructions now? We're just playing standard. Here we go, the throw in. We might have to be a little bit more aggressive. There's Alfaturi. There's our defensive midfielder making a play to Murphy. Murphy's one of our more talented players, but as far as strikers go, he's not the greatest striker in the world because he's a defensive forward. Here's our fullback streaking down. Muscat sends it forward. There's Murphy with the goal. So he's a defensive forward. He doesn't have the greatest finishing in the world. So I'm not real happy with him, but he does make plays, as you can see. And here's Muscat. Here's that play working. It's that same play. Get the ball the inside forward, pulls the defense inside, kicks it out to the fullback. Fullback crosses it, and we get a goal out of it. So that's how the offense is supposed to work, and hopefully it continues to work that way. Because I don't really want to draw against a lower division team. We should be beating teams like this. But not much is happening here in this half. So we'll let the half run out. And then we'll focus on tactics at the half time. Yep, and there it goes. So, not a great half. They say to offer up some encouragement. Okay. I'm not going to be really encouraging. I'm going to say this might be a friendly, but I expect more. Okay, Murphy was demotivated. Let's see, I'm happy with your performance. Oh, it switched everyone else off, so that's not good. So I told one guy I was happy with his performance, and everybody else is like, well, what about me? And so I just kind of hurt the team morale a little bit there, but that's okay. Let's see, tactics, instructions. I'm going to go on the attack against these guys. Be more expressive. Exploit the left side. Let's see if we can run our play again. Run the left wing streak or whatever we call that play. I don't really have a name for it. I mean, it's not like American football where you call plays necessarily. It's more like hockey where you have a system and the system just plays out. So that's essentially what we're doing. We're playing out our left-handed system here, and it is not working. 62 minutes already in the books. What's happening here? Maybe we can try to retain possession, go control. tighter marking. I mean, these are some moves I might not ordinarily make in a preseason game for sure. But this is our final match, so I want to test out how the team reacts in some of these situations where we need a point. Here's Tilt, sending it in. It's Nelson Addy with the shot. Oh, easy finish for Diaby. So there's some of our young players getting involved. Nelson Addy and Diaby. Now we have some older players on this team. We have some like 30 and 35-year-olds even. But a couple of them have been... Oh, look at the goalkeeper. Had no choice, no chance there. A couple of them has been injured, and I think we're pretty much just going to keep them around for morale, for training, for tutoring and stuff like that. Alright, so we can start making some substitutions now. Bring out Muscat. He's doing a lot of running. Bring out Chalikwa. He's not played very well. Bring in Connor Hughes. Take a look at Connor Hughes, 23 years old. Very good pace, agility, acceleration. Determination is pretty good. His technicals are pretty average. His mentals, other than determination, are pretty poor. So that's pretty much his drawback, are his mental abilities. But he does cut inside from the wings, so that gives us, an extra little sort of, he turns himself into an inside forward. So if we ever did want to send our right fullback forward, it would be good to have him in there. And he can also play the left side or the right side. So if Tilt does get injured or needs a rest or whatever, we could also bring in Hughes there, and he can play the inside forward just fine. So he's going to be a good versatile backup for us. Anybody else we want to take out? I don't think so. So we'll confirm that. Not sure what else to say about this team. They're not the best team I've ever seen. They're not even the best Vanarama team I've played. National League team. But there's something about them. I've got a good feeling about this team. I think we'll have a decent season. So here we are, 2 minutes of stoppage time left. Ugh, that was terrible. Terrible clearance. Central defense is our weakness, and I don't like that. I usually like to have a strong central defense. But as you can see, they make terrible plays. They put our goalkeeper in awful situations. And there's not much we can do about that. So this is going to end up 3-1, which is okay. But wait, was that us that scored? That was us that scored, not them that scored. I'm still getting used to these jersey colors. I'm just not used to seeing that green. I played so many home games. I forgot what highlights I was watching. Anyway, 3-1. Not the greatest victory in the world, but it is pretty good. So we'll give them a good performance all around. You look ready. We got to build up this team in terms of their team morale. That's one of the things that's going to help us this season is a high team morale. Because what happens at these lower leagues is a team starts a losing streak and your players aren't very good, so their morale drops. Their mental fortitude isn't very high, so their morale drops like a rock, and then you just get in this downward spiral. So you got to avoid that. You got to keep your players feeling good, training good. And on that note, the last note on this, if you're going to play one of these teams, I would suggest giving players actual contracts. Because there's two kinds of contracts you can give somebody. Take a look at the contract info. So there's, I forget the name of it, but it's basically a per game paycheck, which you pay them, $500 per appearance, they say, something like that. Somewhere between like, you know, $50 and $500 per game. And that's an inexpensive way to get players. But what I've found is that when they're getting played per game, they don't particularly like to train, and they don't train very hard. If they do, you know, when they do train, when they're forced to train. So if you give somebody a part-time contract, then they're a little bit more inclined to say, well, I am getting paid to train, so I'll train, right? They're not just getting paid to play the games. So if you have older players who maybe don't need the training that much, I think it would be okay to just pay them per game. But the younger players, you want to put them on part-time contracts so that they'll actually take their training seriously, and you know, they won't complain all the time, and they'll actually improve. I've noticed players in my previous saves where a player had a lot of potential, but he never got any better. He always, in fact, he would get worse. And then I signed him to a part-time contract, and suddenly that flipped around, and he started training and started getting better. So I definitely recommend part-time contracts when you're playing at, you know, with these semi-pro teams. I guess that's it. We'll advance a little bit. Take a look at our schedule here. So our first game of the league, of the Venerama League, is at Harrogate. Take a look at them. You see where they're predicted. I don't know. Take a look at their facilities. Oh yeah, we didn't take a look at our own facilities, but they've got basic, corporate, below average, training, below average, youth. They play at Weatherby Road, so that's probably where we're going to be playing next. Take a look at our club. We didn't really look at our facilities. Basic, corporate facilities, poor training, basic youth. So essentially the worst of the worst in terms of facilities at this club, but that's, you know, why they hired a 22-year-old coach, I suppose, is because they don't have the finances to do anything. Our field condition is down to okay because we played quite a few friendlies on here. I shouldn't have played so many home friendlies. I should have played more road friendlies, but I wanted to get a feel for this team. We're moving back into our Victoria grounds next season. So currently I don't know where we're playing, but it's not at Victoria. So anyway, there you go. There's our next game. There's our schedule coming up. Now we do have a home game first, and then a couple of road games, and you know, a pretty good mix. Got the FA Cup second round qualifying, and the FA Trophy third round qualifying. So we got a couple of competitions in there, as well as our normal league schedule. Probably show a couple of those, but not too many games. I guess we'll show our first game in the Venerama North, and then any other interesting games that pop up, we'll show those. But I want to get the seasons over with quickly so I can keep rolling through the seasons. All right, so that's it for now. Until next time.